Hello, Fort Bend ISD family. I'm Beth Martinez, your Deputy Superintendent Chief of Staff. I'm here with Stephanie Williams, our Chief of Organizational Development.
And as you know, Fort Bend ISD is currently engaged in a long-range boundary planning process. With this webinar, we aim to provide a brief update on the process, the results of our recent survey, and highlight a dashboard that provides a comprehensive view of the data.
Let's start with a brief update. The boundary planning process is a strategic multi-year process to align available capacity in our schools with resources and student needs across the district. We have fewer students enrolled this year than we had last year, and we are close to full build-out in Fort Bend ISD, so we know we have more student seats than we will ever need again. We are working to balance enrollment across the district to utilize the available seats so that any cost savings can be used for supporting academic programs and our students. In this process, we are using student enrollment trends, school capacity, financial information, information about academic program placement, advisement from the School Boundary Advisory Committee, or SBAC, and feedback from the community to determine final boundary recommendations for board consideration in early spring 2026. It is important to note that these key milestones and the adjusted timeline are in direct response to stakeholder feedback. On Monday, December 1st, we held a special called board workshop to review the long-range boundary planning process and adjusted timeline. This webinar was recorded on December 4th to provide a review of the input received during the community information meetings regarding support needed during possible attendance boundary changes and school consolidations. This survey was given during the face-to-face community meetings in October and posted online from November 14th through November 29th. On December 15th, we will have an additional special called board workshop beginning at 5 p.m. to share information about the enrollment trends, the planning process, and the boundary plans. During this meeting, you will hear from the district's demographer, Population and Survey Analyst, or PASA, PBK Architects regarding the facility condition assessment, and Zonda, our district's boundary planner. It is important to note the draft boundary plans will include elementary boundary changes and school consolidations, and the attendance boundary for the opening of the new Amy Coleman Middle School. During this phase of the planning process, we will not bring forward additional middle school or any high school boundary plans for review, as that work will be in a later planning phase. Unlike the recent calendar survey, the community will be asked to provide feedback on only one scenario for each boundary change or school consolidation, not multiple versions. Feedback will be reviewed with the SBAC to finalize boundary recommendations, which will be shared with the board for consideration in March. These recommendations will include changes to elementary school attendance boundaries, possible school consolidations, and the boundary for the opening of Amy Coleman Middle School. To ensure we support our families, staff, and students during the change to attendance boundaries, we launched community meetings, information videos, and a website with an FAQ section. This series of communication focused on helping stakeholders understand the what, why, how, and when of long-range boundary planning. During these initial engagements, stakeholders had the opportunity to provide feedback across 4 key areas, including 2 write-in questions via a readiness survey. The 4 key areas were understanding the process, readiness for change, concerns, and support needed during change. The write-in questions asked what they needed to learn more about and what the district should consider in the long-range boundary planning process. We often hear from our stakeholders that you want to know how we use the feedback you provide, and that is just what we will be sharing here today. First, we will review the data summary from the recent readiness survey. We will close with the actions we are taking as a result of this information, along with highlighting key next steps in the process. Stephanie?
Thank you, Beth. Let's talk about the readiness survey, which was provided in each of our face-to-face engagements and later to the community at large via social media, email, and our district website. In total, 1,106 surveys included responses. There were 1,185 surveys launched but not completed. 293 Fort Bend ISD staff, 32 students, 774 parents and community members, and 7 other stakeholders participated. While participation in the long-range boundary planning survey was lower than other district-wide surveys, The feedback provides key insights into stakeholder perceptions and needs during this time of change. The first set of questions asks stakeholders to rate their level of understanding of the long-range boundary process. Overall, 66% of stakeholders cited that they understand the process. 73% understand the reasons for boundary planning. 64% understand the process and the timeline being used, while only 59% understand the strategies like rezoning and school consolidation. This survey shows that participants are aware of what long-range boundary planning is, how it will occur, and the timeline for the work. Next, stakeholders were asked to rate their readiness for attendance boundary changes and/or school consolidations. Overall, only 28% of participants are ready for these changes. 31% feel prepared for attendance boundary changes, while 26% feel prepared for school consolidations. While the overall level of readiness is low, students, teachers, and staff cited readiness as more than double that of parents and community members. The next set of questions provides information for district leaders on supports that can be leveraged to support stakeholders through the long-range boundary planning process. When asked, what are your biggest concerns about the long-range boundary process? 3 areas were cited across all stakeholder groups. First, the impact on my child's education. Next, academic continuity, which is the desire to have continued access to quality education, programming, and opportunities. And finally, transportation and logistics. Overall, stakeholders are satisfied with their schools, and they want students to have continued access to high-quality learning experiences. This slide highlights the top 3 areas of concern by stakeholder group. You will note that staff also prioritized potential staffing changes, integrating into the new school community, and transportation and logistics, while students are most concerned with transportation and logistics and academic continuity, as well as integrating into a new school community. Parents also cited impact on their child's education, academic continuity, and loss of community connections as a concern. 7 participants who identified as other and not as students, parents, staff, or community members indicated impact on their child's education, transportation and logistics, and academic continuity as concerns. Next, stakeholders were asked to identify the support that might be helpful during the transition to feel more prepared for change. Stakeholders prioritized 3 types of support: clearly communicated timelines and updates, consistent academic opportunities, and access to an FAQ document. When you look at this question by stakeholder group, students and parents also cited availability and access to similar before and after school options. Finally, stakeholders were provided the opportunity to answer 2 write-in questions. Question 1 asked, what would you like to learn more about? Stakeholders indicated that additional learning is needed on the criteria for decision-making, what data and rationale is used to make decisions on attendance boundaries and school consolidations. Information on scenarios, stakeholders want to see the boundary and school consolidation plans that impact their area. And finally, timeline and ongoing communication. Stakeholders want clearly communicated timelines for decisions and implementation plans along with ongoing communication. Question 2 asks, what feedback should the district consider in the long-range boundary planning process? Stakeholders indicated that they want the district to consider prioritizing neighborhood cohesion and school proximity. Next, the impact to high-quality education, access to student programming and opportunities. And finally, proactive, transparent, consistent communication and stakeholder input. This brief overview of the Long-Range Boundary Planning Readiness Survey has been compiled and simplified for our school community. We all know that data can be complex at times. For this reason, Fort Bend ISD is also providing a data dashboard which can provide a more in-depth look at the Readiness Survey results. The dashboard can be found via the Long Range Boundary Planning website. Additionally, you will be able to access a video that details specific navigation information and the filters available in the dashboard.
After reviewing the data, district staff identified the following areas of focus to support stakeholders in the boundary planning process. Feedback indicated a desire for increased and ongoing communication. Therefore, we have reviewed and increased communication with the primary mode of communication and emails sent out via mass communication to all stakeholders. And we know this may not address each individual's need for information, so information is also posted on the district social media platforms, Facebook, X, and Instagram. We pin announcements on the district's main webpage under headlines and features. We send information to the principal's newsletter and ask that they share with each campus community. We send press statements to local news networks. We share email messages with homeowners associations, exchange clubs, Rotary clubs, local realtors, and our Gold Card members. When we present information in a board meeting, the Fort Bend ISD In Focus message is sent through email after each regular board meeting, which provides another way to stay informed. Please visit the district's webpage often to stay informed and reach out to let us know if you have suggestions about additional ways we can reach more members of our community. The next area of focus is data and criteria for decision making. We've added board workshops to clarify data and the criteria. Another area of focus was access to specific boundary or consolidation scenarios. Based on this focus area, we've adjusted the timeline to share information on December the 15th. You also asked for support in the transition to a new school community. We acknowledge the challenges associated with potential change, and we're committed to providing resources and opportunities to connect school communities. Next, you identified maintaining academic continuity and access to programming. The district is actively reviewing academic programming and is committed to student access to enhanced learning opportunities. The December 15th special called workshop will begin at 5 p.m. and include a presentation from the district's demographer, PASA, the boundary planner, Zonda, PBK architects, and staff. The draft boundary plans for elementary schools and Amy Coleman Middle School will be presented during this time. In January, we will post proposed boundary scenarios for public review and feedback. You will receive communication about this process through the communication channels we previously shared. Thank you for your engagement in this webinar. We recognize you may have additional questions, so I want to highlight where you can go to submit questions and receive responses on the district's webpage through Let's Connect.
A reminder that the Let's Connect portal is located on the right side of the screen in the reddish maroon rectangle labeled Let's Connect. From here, select Questions or Feedback and navigate to the Long-Range Boundary Planning topic to submit your question.
Thank you for your time. Please stay engaged in this important process.